reviewing movies, games, comics, etc. for quite a while now. I think close to 2 years. I've reviewed some very important films in my life that have defined the way I look at movies and my tastes in general. I've reviewed King Kong vs. Godzilla, the original Gojira, the original King Kong. I've reviewed the Heisei Gamera films. I've reviewed Predator. I've reviewed a bunch of films that I consider very close to my heart. Films that I saw as a kid or as a young adult that really define how I see the world, but more importantly, how I see movies. The way I look at them, the way I analyze them, and what I like to see, the genres I pursue, and more importantly, at least to me, the genres I pursue in creating my own movies, stories, etc. But today, we're going to be starting a series of reviews, a mini-series, if you will, of reviews, where for the first time in a while, I'm going to be reviewing movies I never wanted to review, ever. It's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be fun though, and I think it's gonna be necessary, especially for my subscribers out there and what I know of you guys. Today, my friends, I'd like to welcome you to Sicktastic Films Jurassic Park Review Miniseries.
The history of evolution has taught us that life will not be contained. Life breaks free, it expands to new territories, and it crashes through barriers painfully, maybe even dangerously. But I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
Until Jurassic Park scientists came along. Using sophisticated techniques, they extract the preserved blood from the mosquito and, bingo, dino DNA.
Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea what to expect?
Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Dinosaurs, man. I think dinosaurs are at the heart of everything a lot of my subscribers love in film and such, and entertainment. I mean, a lot of my subscribers, most of my subscribers, in fact, are Godzilla fans, are monster movie fans, are kaiju fans. And the bulk of kaiju, let's face it, are based on dinosaurs. Godzilla is a radioactive Godzillasaurus, depending on your continuity. Gamera, while being a giant turtle, still has semblances of dinosaur in him. You've got the Ultraman monsters, a lot of which are based on dinosaur designs. And then overall, the and then King Kong, he's constantly battling dinosaurs. In just generic horror and monster movies, how many times do you see dinosaurs as the central focus of the monsters? You've got Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novel, which got turned into a silent film animated by Willis O'Brien with The Lost World, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, The Giant Behemoth, Carnosaur, a bunch of just movies and books and entertainment in general based around dinosaurs. There's this primal love and interest that I think all people who are creative have with dinosaurs. If you don't, I'm sorry for having a blanket statement, but I think in the case of dinosaurs, it really is true. I have never met someone who shares the same kind of interest as I do. It was similar enough, film and entertainment and such, who's just like curious about things that go beyond the world they live in, who did not have an obsession with dinosaurs as a kid, who didn't have a T-Rex statue on a shelf in their room. I've never met someone who was like that. All of my friends were dinosaur lovers as kids. I don't think it's something that can be explained, but I think there's either a root or an embodiment of this love of dinosaurs. That root slash embodiment would be the 1993 film Jurassic Park, directed by Steven Spielberg, based on a novel written by Michael Crichton. Jurassic Park, I don't think, is the start of this young obsession with dinosaurs, since a lot of the production team had that similar obsession. And let's not pretend it's the first movie to feature dinosaurs. I just listed off a whole bunch of examples that are contrary to that. But Jurassic Park, I think, is... I'm not going to go as far to say it's the best, because I haven't seen every single movie that features dinosaurs, but it's definitely up there for sure. But I do think it's the most... It is the most all-encompassing of the way people feel about dinosaurs, just as a generic idea. Just everything that young boys who play with dinosaur toys feel about dinosaurs is in Jurassic Park. You've got the wonder, you've got the excitement, you've got the curiosity, you've got the intrigue, and then you've got the fear. Everything we love about dinosaurs is in the original Jurassic Park, and to varying degrees in the continuing sequels, but we'll get to that in the next few days. Jurassic Park, again, I don't think it's the inception of this obsession with dinosaurs, but I do think that nowadays, at least for my generation, it is the root of it. I'm not saying I got into dinosaurs because of Jurassic Park. No, I got into dinosaurs because of Godzilla. But Jurassic Park was the movie that festered, I suppose is a strange word to put it, but I do think it's a correct word, my love for dinosaurs. Jurassic Park was a visual symbol for how I felt about dinosaurs, and as I said, for a bunch of other people too. I mean, just undeniably, I think. I mean, a lot of my subscribers, I think, will agree with me that Jurassic Park was that movie that really encapsulated childhood for a lot of us. And, you know, it's strange too, and that's really the reason why I never wanted to review it, because Jurassic Park is such an important movie in my life. It's the beginning of my obsession with Steven Spielberg being one of my favorite directors. I know that's kind of cliche, but I don't care about cliches. I love Steven Spielberg. He's created a lot of my favorite movies, a lot of my favorite characters. Indiana Jones and Jaws withstanding. And for him to come along and make another movie that defines a generation of kids' childhoods, I think that's really cool, and really it shows his power as a director. And I think Jurassic Park, strangely enough, I'm going to say this quick. Indiana Jones, the trilogy, and even 4 to varying degrees, don't really feel like Steven Spielberg movies to me. They feel like Indiana Jones movies. You look at Jurassic Park, I don't know. Until recently, I never saw them as Steven Spielberg movies. I mean, I think obviously his style is in there a lot. I'll get to that when we actually get into the review. But for the most part, Jurassic Park is Jurassic Park. It's got its own style. It's got its own flair to it. When you say Jurassic Park, an immediate tone comes to mind. And I think while Steven Spielberg is a big part of establishing that tone, it doesn't immediately scream Spielberg, in my opinion. And I never really, as a kid, I never really picked up on the similarities between this and, say, Jaws. But when I watched it for this review, I picked up on a lot of Spielbergian, if you will, kinds of ways of directing scenes and way scenes work. Just to throw out an example, the scene where in Jaws, where Quint, Brody, and Matt Hooper are sitting on the Orca and they're sharing stories about their scars and such, and it's probably the best scene in the movie. And then Quint tells that riveting story about the USS Indianapolis that has people talking. I don't think there's a scene in Jurassic Park that lives up to that level of power, but there are scenes that call back to it. There are scenes that harken memories of Quint's speech in Jaws. And I can name a couple, actually. There's quite a few of them. One of them is, I think this is the closest, in fact. One of them is the scene where, at the very beginning, where Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, talks to this kid, who this kid is undermining the fear behind a velociraptor, which Alan Grant studies. And Alan Grant is going into this huge, thing about how velociraptors are like the most fearsome dinosaur, how they were the most dangerous, how they were the most fascinating, which is the word he would put to them. But this kid is just like, it looks kind of like a big turkey, undermining, criticizing them, I guess, is the right word. And then Alan Grant gets all gets all pissed off, and he talks to this kid. And I'll never forget the scene. There's always a really big scene in my childhood. Is Alan Grant takes out this fossilized raptor claw, and he starts like setting the scene for this kid being attacked by a velociraptor in Cretaceous period Earth. And it's just this great scene, and the thing that really makes it harken back to Jaws is there are no visuals aside from the raptor claw, mind you, to support what exactly Alan Grant is describing. It's all based around the imagination. And I think that that's really key in harkening back to the power of Jaws. And I do think that that scene with Alan Grant and the kid is very, very powerful. Now, I'm not going to say that it's as powerful or as, you know, it's not the same kind of powerful as that scene in Jaws is. That scene in Jaws is bone-chilling. And it's there to establish character. The scene in Jurassic Park with the kid, not so much there to establish character as much as it is to establish a tone. And to establish a really big component of the way Jurassic Park is going to present dinosaurs. Jurassic Park is going to present dinosaurs with a mix of things. It's going to present it with majesty, it's going to present it with fear, but it's going to be a good mix. You're going to want to look at these dinosaurs, but you're also going to be scared of them because they're animals, and they can hurt you. And that scene really embodies that for me without even showing a single dinosaur. The only thing we see is, of course, the fossilized raptor claw and the fossilized velociraptor. But that's not much. I mean, that's what we have to go on in real life. And I think that that scene really embodies the way Jurassic Park works, and it does work to upteenth degrees. In that, again, it's taking what how people feel about dinosaurs, and it's putting a movie to it. And I think it works great. Now, I've read a lot of reviews of this film when it first came out because, again, this is a movie I never wanted to review because I didn't think it needed to be reviewed. Jurassic Park was just Jurassic Park. We took it, we shook hands on it, and then watched it. That's all you needed for Jurassic Park. You didn't need this analysis. At least not until I became a reviewer did I ever even consider analyzing Jurassic Park. And even now, I'm still kind of on shaky ground on reviewing it because it's a movie that I would actually say this, and you guys might lynch me for this given my fan base. I think that this movie, for me personally, is more difficult to review than King Kong vs. Godzilla. So let me just leave you with that as we actually get into the review here. But yeah, I read a lot of reviews by people like Roger Ebert when Jurassic Park first came out. All of them had things to say positively. A lot of it around the special effects and the excitement of the film, which that's unquestionable. But the real criticism came in, and the real disagreements came in between moviegoers and critics when it came to the story and the characters. Most critics, including Roger Ebert, were comparing it a lot to Jaws, just as I did. They were comparing it to how, you know, Alan Grant's got nothing on Martin Brody. How how Ian Malcolm has nothing on Matt Hooper. How, you know, what's a good example for Quint? I guess Muldrin. You know, in Jurassic Park, the raptor hunter is kind of like Quint. Not really, though. Muldrin isn't as developed as Quint is, even kind of. Though that's what most critics will tell you about Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm, comparing it to Brody and Hooper as well from Jaws. I kinda-ish agree. Now, Jaws is a horror movie. It is a summer blockbuster to a T, and so is Jurassic Park. But Jaws was always praised, and I was always behind this, for the very, you know, in-depth way it presented its ideas. It presented a horror movie. It presented a very cliched idea, and presented it as not being cliched because it presented it with a degree of creativity and a degree of depth. And that's the way Jaws works. And a lot of people will tell you, a lot of critics will tell you that Jurassic Park doesn't have that, and I'm here to tell you that it does. I do not agree with Roger Ebert's assessment that this movie is just there to wow you with special effects. I think that's a big part of it. I don't think that's all of it. I think that Jurassic Park has a lot of personality, and not just from the special effects. I will say that Jurassic Park would not be the movie it is without the actors and without the writing of them. Now again, it's not as good as Jaws in that regard, but again, it's trying to do different things than Jaws is. I think Jaws was trying harder to be that, you know, cinematic piece of, you know, it was trying to be a piece of cinema behind the horror movie lens. Horror movies were very popular at the time, but so were these big epic pieces of cinema. Same time around Jaws, you had The Godfather, you had You know, you had all the, in Star Wars and all these different movies that people consider to be cinematic landmarks. Jaws is now included in that. I don't know if Jurassic Park is not because Jaws is not a kids movie by any means. Jurassic Park is trying to be a kids movie, or at least a family movie. A movie that you can sit your kids in front of and they can enjoy it too without being scared. Though most parents will disagree with me on that too, because Jurassic Park does have quite a bit of blood in it. Well, the sequels have more, but the original does too. So, you know, Jurassic Park, I know I keep comparing Jurassic Park to Jaws, but I really think that it's fitting because, again, they're both Spielberg films and they're both very similar in how they present their ideas. Again, to compare Jurassic Park to Jaws is not invalid, it's just not really the right way to look at Jurassic Park. I think you're being unfair to Jurassic Park then. Because Jaws is going for a much... Jurassic Park is for a broader audience than Jaws is. So I think that to look at Jurassic Park in the same vein as Jaws, I think that at least in my eyes, lends it to be more praised, because it does have a lot of similarities with the good stuff that Jaws does, and it's also trying to be for kids. Okay, so let's get more into the characters now. I feel like I haven't even started reviewing the movie, and I don't want to make this as long as my Godzilla Palooza, but it looks like we're gonna get there. But alright, you know what? Okay. I don't want this to be as long as my Godzilla Palooza review, so let's just get into this here. With all the comparisons to Jaws aside, let's talk briefly about the plot. What do I have to say? You know, a paleontologist named Alan Grant, his girlfriend, Ellie Sattler, a chaotician, which is kind of like a mathematician, but for like real life scenarios and theories and such, named Ian Malcolm, and a bunch of other people get sent to this island off the coast of Costa Rica called Isla Nublar. Now, this island is hosting some sort of financial endeavor by a entrepreneur and a showman named John Hammond, who's the owner of a corporation called InGen. Now, John Hammond comes off as a very kindly old man. He's sweet. He walks around with a cane. He laughs. He makes jokes. You know, he's just a very sweet Saint Nick old man. And it's funny how Richard Attenborough, who plays John Hammond, also played Santa Claus. So it's fitting. And he takes these people to this theme park he's created called Jurassic Park. Now, Alan Grant has no idea what this is, and neither does the audience at first. We've had a glimpse of what it is, but it's not really a big enough glimpse to be sure. The opening of the movie is a bunch of workers at Jurassic Park loading something into the park. Now, we learn later that it's a velociraptor, but, you know, we don't quite know yet. We know it's something, we know it's something dangerous, and we know it's something alive. And a worker is killed by it. Now, I've heard critics say that that's playing your hand too early, that you're showing too much of the dinosaur even just by showing its eye. I disagree. I think it establishes mystery because at least the audience from the very get-go knows that this is not just going to be a movie about a bunch of bones. We get a glimpse of the dinosaurs early that makes us want to see more of them later. Anyway, so they get to Jurassic Park and they find out that it's not a bunch of bones, that it's a bunch of living, breathing dinosaurs. Of course, they're confused about how this happened since dinosaurs have been extinct for 65 million years. But John Hammond explains that through the power of cloning, he's been able to acquire dinosaur DNA from fossilized mosquitoes from the Cretaceous period and the Jurassic period and all these different periods and bring them back to life on the plains of Isla Nublar and create this theme park around them. So they're not perfect dinosaurs though, because they also have, aside from just being cloned dinosaurs, they also have frog DNA in them to complete a sequence strand. They explain this all in the movie and it's all very well explained. I like how, somewhat in Jaws they do this too, but in Jurassic Park I think it's done even a little more creatively, don't shoot me. In Jaws, there's a lot of scenes where they get the exposition out about the sharks via character interaction, natural character interaction, where it's almost like the exposition about the animal is supposed to be kind of jokey and, you know, part of natural conversation. An example of that is the dinner scene in Jaws where Hooper, Brody, and Mrs. Brody all talk about sharks. And then, of course, later on the Orca with all the scenes where they're talking about sharks. And there's other scenes in there, too. In Jurassic Park, they do a similar thing. Again, when you got a paleontologist on board, the topic of dinosaurs is going to come up quite a bit. So all the exposition about how the dinosaurs act is natural. When he sees a dinosaur, he gives a little, you know, he explains what it's doing and why it's doing that, because he's studied them. He's theorized about them, though, and that's one of the big points of contention with Jurassic Park is theory versus seeing it for your eyes, and that's a big theme that I'll get into in a few minutes. Anyway, so yeah, the exposition is really natural, and the creative way in which they get to it is this animated film they show, which explains the whole DNA thing, what the dinosaurs are, you know, what exactly Jurassic Park is. It's all very well done, very creative, very entertaining. Which exposition it isn't always. So I appreciate that it is in this film. So they're of course all taken back by this, and John Hammond then prompts. But however, after this, there is a scene in a dinner hall where they're talking about, you know, the morality of this. Is it okay to bring dinosaurs back? Is it okay to bring people into the mix? Should John Hammond have done this? And it's this great scene. Probably not being one of the dinosaur scenes, it's probably the best scene in the movie just on a movie standpoint, not exactly on an entertainment standpoint. Well, it is a very entertaining scene, but what I mean is, like, not taking the dinosaur scenes into account, it's probably the best scene in the movie because it's just very well acted, very well written. Everyone, the room they're in is filled with tension. It's just very, 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 very well done and very well acted. So I think it's a great scene. So even after all these battles of ethics, John Hammond still wants them to see the park first, and he sends them out to experience the park, and he sends them with his 2 grandchildren because, as he points out, he wants them, before they endorse or reject the park, to get a taste of how his target audience feels about it. So I think that's fair. And these kids very much so become our eyes for the way this park is. They're very much so the audience and how they view the dinosaurs, which I think is fitting. Anyway, so they go into the park. However, the funny thing is that the dinosaurs aren't really showing up. They're all hiding, including the Tyrannosaurus, Dilophosaurus, and there's a sick Triceratops. So it's not going well. And then to add insult to injury, there's a hurricane that is brewing off the coast of Isla Nublar and is basically threatening the island. So all the personnel who are running the island have to leave, and it's just John Hammond, a few select personnel, and his guests, Alan Grant and company. They're all trapped on the island now, and thanks to a industrial spy by the name of Dennis Nedry, played by Newman from Seinfeld, he shuts down all the park's electricity. I'm going into way too much detail, I just realized. I apologize. Anyway, just to finish up quick. The power goes out, the dinosaurs get out, there's a bunch of people die, running away from dinosaurs. We see basically everything the park has to offer in terms of dinosaur species. Alan Grant gets stuck with the kids because everyone else either gets injured or it gets eaten, and they have to navigate their way through the park in order to survive. They get back to the visitor center where they're trying to restore the power. They're trying to get out, so they're trying to call the chopper. A bunch of velociraptors follow them back to the compound. They have to fight the velociraptors, and they escape. Thanks to a little help from the T-Rex, who bursts into the visitor center and takes down some of the velociraptors while they run away. It's a great scene. They get on the chopper, and they depart from Jurassic Park with John Hammond lamenting the events of what he's done. It's a great scene. So Jurassic Park. The plot, I think, is very, very well done and very interesting. It, of course, comes from the writings of Michael Crichton, and I think that the plot is very, very engaging. It's just simple enough and just sci-fi enough to get us interested and to make us realize we're not quite on our world. But it's also real enough, identifiable enough, so that way we do relate to it. We do feel like we could be in this situation. I mean, who hasn't wanted to experience a zoo with dinosaurs in it? I don't think there's anyone out there who wouldn't be interested in that. So you've got that immediate connectability with the characters, which to keep you engaged. So I think that Jurassic Park's plot is perfect for what it's trying to do. I think really the problem comes, and this is really one of my only complaints with the film, and overall the series is just an overarching problem with the premise. And I've heard critics talk about this, and this is one place where I kind of agree with it. There's a very popular complaint out there that Jurassic Park suffers from playing its card too early, not in terms of showing the dinosaurs, but doing what it wants to do. I outlined this earlier. You want to impress us with the majesty of these dinosaurs, but then you want to frighten us with the horror some of these dinosaurs have. And I like how they're both parallel. The kids are all, oh my god, look how awesome these dinosaurs are with the herbivores. And even with some of the carnivores too, while they're still behind wire and they're safe. But then once the power goes out, the dinosaurs, the carnivores, are now threatening them. Then you've got the fear. These are monsters, or, you know, as Alan Grant says, they just kind of do what they do. They're animals, so you can't hate them too much. And I like that a lot. It shows rationale in a film that could have been very devoid of rationale when you're being chased by dinosaurs. So I really like that line, and I like the clear establishment of the way people feel about dinosaurs. I think it's a great way to do this. And again, I think that's the sole thing that makes Jurassic Park the awesome movie that it is. The complete and expansive way it looks at dinosaurs, or at least the way people look at dinosaurs. So I think that that's really, really cool and really well done. One interesting thing I just picked up on is that this is actually just from just from watching the movie again and thinking about its themes and such. Since I've never tried to do that before this viewing, I've never tried to analyze, or at least deeply analyze, Jurassic Park's themes. I mean, there's stuff in there that you're going to kind of pick up on, but it's more of morality than it is themes and commentary. I think obviously the big moral of Jurassic Park is, you know, you can't play God. You can't, you can't beat nature. As Ian Malcolm says, life will find a way. Man can't control nature. Nature will always find a way to get over man. Because let's face it, man is a part of nature, so man can't control nature necessarily. So I find that interesting, and I find that it's mostly well done. It's a very Frankenstein-esque theme, and Frankenstein is, it's very much so a part of the inspiration for the film for sure. You know, Frankenstein was the power of, that was the Industrial Revolution. This is the genetic revolution. Now we can clone. Now we can beat biological diseases and such. Now we're using biological warfare. So now we can clone dinosaurs. So, every theme is played with in this film. They're not all entirely explored, but they're all there, and they're all for the most part satisfying to see. You've of course got the whole, you're creating these dinosaurs to make money off of them, so that in and of itself is wrong. Now what I like is that particular idea is not really, it's not at the core of it, but it is part of it, and that's one thing I just realized with this viewing. I think the lawyer, while being kind of a cliched, money-grubbing kind of character, let's face it, he is, I think he does express a social idea about dinosaurs. We're looking at the early to mid-90s here, folks. 93 specifically. This was the birth of the commercial era, at least in my opinion. So, toy companies and movie companies are trying to make money off what kids were into. So, I mean, you had movies that were based on video games. You had movies that were based on, this is where we started to see movies based on comics and all that. So, they were trying to profit off of kids' likes. And I think that it's interesting that Jurassic Park is a character who wants to profit off the dinosaurs. Kids are into dinosaurs. People will pay whatever they want, he says, and he's right. I would pay whatever the hell they would charge me to go look at a real dinosaur. What, are you kidding me? So yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and I like that the lawyer is used for that. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's not cliched and that he's a little bit irritating at times because he is so cliched. Definitely the case. He's a dick. But I like that it's brought up, it's emphasized, it's part of the social commentary. And again, that's just one piece of the way people look at dinosaurs. The commercial world looks at dinosaurs as a way to profit. Let's get into John Hammond. John Hammond is probably my favorite character next to Alan Grant. John Hammond is this really interesting character because he's changed drastically from the book. I have not read Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park in total, but I've read some of it and I've read a lot of synopses of it. In the novel, John Hammond is just kind of a financial, money-grubbing douche, and in the end he gets kind of a Frankenstein-esque, gets what he deserves ending where he gets eaten by some of the dinosaurs. In Jurassic Park, the movie, that's not the case at all. And I like the way that Crichton, who co-wrote the screenplay with David Coop, changes John Hammond for the film. Now, I don't know if it was co-op or even Spielberg, or I think it was Spielberg actually who came up with the idea. Maybe we should make John Hammond kind of a more of a showman than a financial guy. And that's very much so brought up when, because there's a line that John has throughout the film where he says, "I spared no expense." John Hammond is not the one who looks at dinosaurs as a way to profit. He's the opposite. He says to the lawyer who's talking about how people will pay whatever we want them to go see these dinosaurs, John says, it's not about the money. Everyone in the world has the right to enjoy these animals. And he's got a great point. He very much so represents the public fascination with dinosaurs. He's very much so the dreamer. The imagination, the way he looks at dinosaurs is the way that a lot of kids look at dinosaurs. That I think the way a lot of adults look at dinosaurs, even though they'll never say it. John Hammond had the guts to say it. Let's bring dinosaurs back to life. It'll be awesome. The imagination will run wild. He talks about this at great lengths. It's really well done. Richard Attenborough plays that perfectly. Love the way he plays the showmanship. I love the way he talks about how he didn't do this to make money. He did this to give birth to a dream. And I even think that's kind of an interesting metaphor for the movie, because isn't that what the movie at its core is? It's the visualization of the way people look at dinosaurs. And I think that that's really interesting. I think that's what John Hammond represents in this big pie of the way people look at dinosaurs. So that's John Hammond. Probably my favorite character. Probably the most in-depth. There's a lot of great, and there's a lot of them I don't even want to get to because it's going to make this review long, but I'm going to get into them. I'm trying to think which ones I should bring up, which ones I should leave for you guys to experience. I love his backstory. I love the way he talks about how he came from Scotland. The immigration. The immigration is a big part of the dream, the American dream, the idea where you can come here and do whatever the hell you want. I think that that's another big part of John Hammond's character. He wanted to bring dinosaurs to life. He wanted to, or not even necessarily just dinosaurs, he's a showman. He wants to entertain people. He wants to give people this a visualization of their imagination, of their dreams. And Jurassic Park very much represents that. So I think that that's really interesting too, and I love how he talks about how when he first came to America, he had a flea circus, and of course flea circuses are not flea circuses. They're, you know, a bunch of little machines underneath what looks like a circus. So and then he would say, oh, the fleas are doing this. So again, it's the birth of a dream, a smaller dream, and a fake dream even. And I love the point he makes about how Jurassic Park is more than just the visualization of dinosaurs. It's the birth of his dream, or the what's the word? It's the culmination of his dream to create something real that'll fascinate people and capture their imaginations and just give them pleasure. The flea circus was artificial. They were all motorized, but he told people they were fleas, and that captured imagination, but it was fake. I love the scene where he talks to Ellie about how Jurassic Park has real dinosaurs in it. How Jurassic Park, people can go to it and they don't have to worry about being fooled. There's no strings attached with Jurassic Park. It is your dreams brought to life. He spared no expense. Dinosaurs that are real dinosaurs that you can look at, you can observe them, you can enjoy them, you can touch them. You get your hand bitten off, but you can still do it. It's just a great, it's a great metaphor, one that I feel is really well done, one that I relate to a lot, and that's why John Hammond is my favorite character. Now, I'm not going to go into all the characters because this review is already running on very, very long, and there are things I want to say about the dinosaurs and the special effects and everything. So let's wrap up with Alan Grant. And then I want to talk about the kids too, because another problem comes in there. Alan Grant, I think, he's the science. He's the cold, hard. He too has been captured by dinosaurs, and not literally. He's been, his imagination was captured by dinosaurs as a kid. He talks about this. In the scene with the sick Triceratops, he lays on and listens to it breathing, and he goes, "She was always my favorite as a kid." And he's smiling, and just the way he looks at the dinosaurs is the way a kid would look at the dinosaurs, and the way I'm sure a lot of adults who have this pent-up love for dinosaurs would look at these things. he's very relatable in that regard as well. I think he's a really well done character too. Sam Neill makes this movie. A lot of the other actors too, but I don't think without Sam Neill and his co-stars, I don't think Jurassic Park would work, because they really bring these different pieces of the dinosaur, of the public consensus of dinosaurs pie to life. With Alan Grant, you've got the science, the scientific discovery thing. We can find out how intelligent a raptor really is. I love the scene where once they meet Muldrum, the guy who coordinates with the raptors, or he's the gamekeeper. He looks after the raptors and such. Alan Grant loves raptors. He's obsessed with them. He's obsessed with their intelligence, even though they're just a dinosaur. They're a reptile. The evolution of them into birds. He goes up to Muldrum. He just runs to him and he says, "What's their metabolism like? What's their intelligence capacity?" All this different stuff. And he's just sitting there soaking it all in, because a lot of his theories are right. He represents the scientific curiosity that people have about dinosaurs. What were they really, really like? But he has a realization at the end. Dinosaurs kill people. Dinosaurs had their time. And I think that Alan Grant, him and John Hammond both have a realization about dinosaurs, that John Hammond realizes that you can't control your dreams. You have to let your dreams... It's nearly impossible to bring your dreams to life. And that's the point. They're dreams, they're aspirations. You can get close, but dreams aren't always attainable, but that's part of the charm of them. They're dreams. Alan Grant is very different. I mean, he has that realization too, but it's not something he didn't already know, because he was one of the ones who was quick to point out to John Hammond the danger involved. And, you know, the ethics and he saw the reality of putting dinosaurs in with people. It's not exactly a smart move, but he was also captured by it. Alan Grant's is not about the dreams. I think it's more about... Well, he has two realizations. One of them I like a little better than the other one. The one I don't really like so much, but it's still there. It still gives him a faucet of character, is he realizes this stuff about the kids. Alan Grant doesn't like kids very much, and he spends the whole movie with the kids trying to build... You know, he builds a love for them. And I think that his realization about dinosaurs... He learns to appreciate both. I think he learns to appreciate that, you know, dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. We're never going to see a real dinosaur. Now that we have, it's not been a pleasant experience. These kids almost died. So I think Alan Grant's realization is a lot about, you know, it's very much similar to Alan Grant's again. It's keeping your feet on the ground and still having those dreams, but you have to work a little harder to attain those dreams. He still has to dig in the dirt to learn about dinosaurs. Alan Grant's is a little bit more hard to follow or hard to dissect than John Hammond's is, but it's still fascinating. Alan's still a great character, so is John. Now on to the kids. Yeah, they're a little annoying. They're not as bad as a lot of other kids in a lot of 90s movies, but they're still pretty annoying. They fight, they argue, they complain. They're kids. I guess I kind of feel the same way Alan Grant feels about kids. Like, I guess you could think I could still go through the same realization that he went through. I don't know. They're part of the ultimate piece of the puzzle of the whole public conscience of dinosaurs thing. I don't know. They still bug me at points. There are some scenes I think could have been changed with them. For example, the whole crush on Alan that Lex has, and the whole, and I suppose it fits, but I think the crush thing could have been cut out because it doesn't go anywhere. You know, it's just like there's this one scene where she kind of like looks up to him with like googly eyes, and you know, Tim's I like better. Tim is the boy, and his fascination with Alan comes with dinosaurs. They both have this love of dinosaurs. And Tim is that annoying little nerd who constantly asks questions in class. And if he were into like you know, geeky stuff like me, he'd be the kid who was always hounding autographs and asking his idols questions. So I sympathize with him a lot, but he's still pretty annoying. This review is running on very long, so there's obviously just one other thing I want to talk about with Jurassic Park. The dinosaurs. This is undeniably the best visualization of dinosaurs ever put on screen, and we talked about this in the review already. But just dinosaurs act like dinosaurs in this movie. And Steven Spielberg took the perfect tact with it. He said they're not monsters, they're animals. So we have to treat them as such. A Brachiosaurus is not the same thing as a T-Rex. A Velociraptor is not the same thing as a Triceratops. They're animals. We have to treat them like that. They all do what they do. And we have to treat them like, you know, they move like animals. They're not monsters. We can't just play around with them. And I think that Jurassic Park is a good example of the difference between a character like Godzilla and a character like the T-Rex. The T-Rex is a T-Rex. He's got to act like a real T-Rex. Godzilla is a monster. You can do whatever you want with him. He's a fictional character. The T-Rex is a real animal, just put in a fictionalized world. So Jurassic Park is very much so about bringing those real animals to life where we could never see them anywhere else. We're never going to see a real dinosaur, at least at the current moment. Someone might watch this review in 50 years and go, there's a real Jurassic Park, but who knows? So yeah, I think that I think that this is probably the best film dinosaurs ever put on screen. I don't know if it'll ever be topped either. I mean, Jurassic Park was just so revolutionary in terms of the way it looked at dinosaurs. I think the special effects are a big part of that, but I think it all came with the intent. You know, special effects don't make everything. Steven Spielberg's approach with making them act like animals, and the special effects team's devotion to that idea of treating a T-Rex the same way they would treat a lion. I think that's really, really key to the way this movie works. It brings these dinosaurs to life the same way John Hammond did. So I think that that's all I can really say about Jurassic Park. Everything looks great. All the dinosaur scenes are entertaining. They all have the tone they need to have. All the stuff with the giant herbivores is filled with booming music and majesty. And all the stuff with the carnivores is all terrifying. It has its moments of majesty too, but it's a different kind of majesty. It's a terrifying, grotesque majesty, but it's still there. You know, I always saw herbivores and carnivores as the herbivores are the dinosaurs the 5-year-olds love, the carnivores are the stuff that 9-year-olds love. So yeah, I think that this movie gets the dinosaurs just right. They all look perfect. This movie does not, at least for now, it's not dated at all. I think the special effects still look fine. And why is that? Because they mix in CG with the practical. What I love about the first Jurassic Park is that the CG is not the only thing that's used. Basically, anything that doesn't have to be CG is a giant animatronic puppet and it looks fucking awesome. I mean, there are so many shots in this movie there I can't say that that's not a real dinosaur. All the animatronic T-Rex stuff looks like a real dinosaur. And the CG, you know, the CG is used the way CG should be used. The CG is used to enhance it. Everything that the animatronic dinosaur can't do, the CG does. And it looks perfect. It looks just the way you would imagine a real dinosaur to move. So yeah, just the way Jurassic Park visualizes dinosaurs is perfect. I don't think it'll ever be topped, at least in my opinion. And I'm not talking about special effects, I'm talking about intent and the ultimate product. These feel like real dinosaurs. And of course the special effects, you know, are the kicker with that, but they're not everything. Intent is everything. And the special effects are the thing that brings that intent to life. So this movie is absolutely gorgeous. I love the color palette. The greens and the blues and the reds all create this beautiful picture of a Jurassic World, of a prehistoric world. It's a fantasy. It's a tropical paradise, but also it's scary. The dark jungles versus the sunny, glowing, wide open expanses with dinosaurs and herds roaming across them. It all looks perfect. Now, what complements all of that? John Williams' music score, man. It deserved all the awards it got. It is just perfect. The majesty, the terror, everything that you could ever feel about a dinosaur, I feel about Jurassic Park's score. It's majestic, it's a little scary, it's intriguing, it's curious, it's big. It's perfect. I have nothing more to say about John Williams' score. His theme is always recognizable, and every time it shows up in a Jurassic Park film, I always go, hell yeah, man, Jurassic Park. Anyway, So I think I've said everything I want to say about Jurassic Park. I just think that it's overall a really, really, really great film. The one problem I have with it, and I don't know if I got into it enough in depth about it earlier, but I don't want to do too much. I think I've kind of covered it. The problem with Jurassic Park as a movie is the tone kind of, the seesaw tips a little bit after the T-Rex attack. All the majesty that was treated with the dinosaurs earlier is kind of lost, and the movie feels a little cliched after that. Like, after that, it becomes a horror movie and a survival adventure film. And it's not bad, it's just we've seen it before, and we've seen it from Spielberg before. So once the dinosaurs start to attack the people, some of the stuff that makes Jurassic Park is kind of lost, but it's still there enough where it's not like it's not entertaining. And of course, seeing a bunch of velociraptors chase people is wildly entertaining. It's just a little bit of a tonal shift, and it doesn't quite feel the way that the first act feels. It's more interesting than... The first act is more interesting than the third act, let's just put it that way. The scene where John Hammond, Alan Grant, and Ian Malcolm debate the ethics of bringing dinosaurs back to life is a little more interesting to me than climbing over an electric fence, but that's just me. The adventure and the action and the horror kind of don't sit as well as the majesty and the curiosity of the dinosaurs, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It's different. And it doesn't work quite as well as the majesty and such, and the scientific intrigue and the exploration of the public consciousness of dinosaurs. So that was my very, very, very long review of Jurassic Park. Just to give this film a score, just as I always do when I review films in a series, well, I'm going to give the original Jurassic Park a 5 out of 5. It's a wildly entertaining piece of entertainment. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly urge you to check it out. Aside from its pop culture significance and its overall significance in our society, I think it's a damn good movie. Its exploration of the themes of scientific creation, cloning, genetics, all stuff that is very important in our modern day society, makes this film still worth checking out and interesting, and just very important in our modern day society. So I think Jurassic Park is both an important film and just overall a good film. Great acting, great effects, great script, great source material. Just overall, it's a perfect movie. I give it a 5 out of 5. Again, its problems do not outweigh it. I think its problems simply become a part of it. And I don't know, I think that the problems can be ignored, I think. So Jurassic Park is one of those movies where the problems, I don't want to say they become part of the charm, but they become part of the experience. Again, if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, I highly urge you to check it out. Very easy to attain. Get it on DVD, get it on Blu-ray. It's everywhere. And this year marks the 20th anniversary of the original Jurassic Park, so there you go. I'm sure we'll be getting a commemorative box set. And also, folks, the original Jurassic Park is getting re-released in 3D. I'll see you there. Well, this has been part 1 of Sicktastic Reviews Jurassic Park miniseries, where we took a look at the original 1993 film Jurassic Park. But we're not quite finished, because Michael Crichton had one more novel he wrote, and Steven Spielberg had one more movie he wanted to make. Thus, tomorrow we'll be getting into the 1997 sequel to Jurassic Park, The Lost World. I hope you guys will join me for that review. I'll see you guys all soon. Farewell.